It is story time here on the podcast today. I am sharing with you before and after stories of four amazing working moms that have gone through the ambitious and balanced process. These women are just like you and me. They struggle with the same overworking behaviors, not leaving any time for themselves, feeling like their family was getting the leftovers, waking up in the middle of the night, just wondering if they're doing things right. And when they learned how to create a priority first life, when they learned the four key decisions in a balanced life and had the tools to follow through and hold to their priorities, everything changed. I'm going to paint for you the picture of their before and after and walk you through a tool that I've never talked about here on the podcast, but it is essential if you want to change your overworking habits. I'm going to walk you through it right here today. You ready? Let's get to it. Hello, working moms. It is so good to be with you today. This is the last week that you can sign up for this very first cohort, the fall cohort of Ambitious and Balanced. And there are still a few spots available. Remember, I'm only taking 10 women. I want this to be a very intimate experience for you to get the support and the attention that you need from me, but also to feel connected to the other women in the group as well, to feel seen. Because I'm not taking everyone into this group, the way to sign up is actually by scheduling a free 30-minute consultation call with me where we're going to talk about what you really want to get out of this coaching experience and make sure that you're a really good fit. And there's just a couple more days that you could sign up for that call. So if you've been thinking about that, I have made space for you. I will always make space for you. And you can learn more about the program and sign up for that call by going to my website, www.rebeccaolsoncoaching.com/ambitious and balanced. All right. So I am really excited about what we're going to talk about here on the podcast today, like really excited. I'm going to do a little like storytelling for you and talk about three of my amazing clients and their stories, and then also share a little bit about my experience as well. And I'm going to leave you with this sort of magical tool. I call it magical because it really does feel like that at times. This sort of magical tool. I've never talked about it here on the podcast, but I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to walk you through the tool actually together. We're going to do it together here at the end of this podcast. And I'm really excited about sharing that with you as well. So today we're going to talk about what is truly different in each of these women's lives, my lives, these three women's lives, like tangibly, we're going to talk about what's different. We're going to talk about what work-life balance and creating a priority first life, what that really looks like. Because I know it sounds lovely. I'm sure your brain is like, yeah, I really, really want that. But what does that change actually mean? The other day, I was coaching a client on this, and I was helping her get really, really specific with what the transformation was that she really wanted in creating work-life balance. And here's what I told her. I said, I want you to describe it to me like you were a fly on the wall observing the differences, right? I'm not interested in you just feeling better. Although, of course, I want that for you. And I guarantee that that's going to happen for you when you go about creating work-life balance and creating a priority first life. But I don't want you to just feel better. I want life to be better. I want you to stop waking up in the middle of the night and wondering if you're doing things right by your kids. I want you to find a place in your house where you actually put your phone to sleep at night and you don't pick it up so that you can actually be present. When your kids are running around the house with just a diaper on and you're just trying to get them dressed and get some shoes on and get out the house, I want you to be less upset and less snappy and less frustrated. I want you to appear calm, collected, in control as you gently redirect your child and find a moment of connection with them. I want you to walk into meetings and position yourself at the best seat at the table. Raise your hand frequently because you have the most amazing ideas. I want you to get ahead of your quarterly, midway, annual reviews and learn how to share your wins throughout the whole year, to share your accomplishments without that feeling weird or kind of yucky or like you're bragging about yourself. Yes, of course, I want you to feel better. Yes, I want you to feel better. I want you to feel calm, confident, in control, right? Those are my 3 C's. And I want your life and responses to life circumstances to actually be different. I want a fly on the wall to look at your life and notice what has changed. Otherwise, like, what's the point? Right? The whole goal of this group, Ambitious and Balanced, and me launching this program is to give you the tools and strategies and a container of space to actually make the change that you want, to change your habits, responses, anxieties, overwhelming behavior. I don't want you to just talk about things being different and learn what it takes to make things be different. I want you to actually do it, which means that you need to know what it is you want. You have to be able to see it in your mind like you're a fly on the wall. I really, really hope that you hear my conviction as I talk about this because I'm fighting for you. I don't want you to settle in life and to say, well, this is just the way I am, or this is just the way life is. I don't want you to sit in, I don't know how to do this, to constantly question if you're doing things right or if you're always doing things wrong or you could be doing things better, feeling like your only option is to work yourself hours beyond what you actually want in your life. I don't want that for you, particularly when there is a solution, when there is a way to actually change your overworking behavior, shift your priorities, learn how to actually hold to your boundaries. Like there is a way to do that. I break it down a lot for you here on the podcast, but I hear it from my clients all the time. They come onto their breakthrough calls with me and they say, look, I listened to your podcast. I really resonate with it, but I'm not actually doing the things that you're telling me to do. Like I need accountability, right? And so they sign up for coaching. Yes, and yes, many people, the majority of people out there hear the process. They know the process. They know what they need to do in order to make change. They know how to do it. But for most people, just knowing isn't enough. You need accountability, particularly you need the accountability of follow through, like how to overcome all of those internal feelings and thoughts that are uncomfortable and hard to overcome when you're trying to do something new in your life, when you're going after change, right? It's one of the main tools that I teach you in Ambitious and Balanced. I promise it's the thing that is missing for you. I don't want you to stay stuck. I want you to follow through. It is why I created this program just for you. Now, if you are like many of my clients, and it's hard for you to be that fly on the wall and actually imagine how life would be different, right? You just know that it's not working today, but you're not exactly sure what needs to you probably do know what needs to change, but you're not exactly sure like the freedom that would come with it. You could barely see it. No, you've always been a perfectionist. You've always been a people pleaser. It's hard for you to imagine it. It feels uncomfortable to imagine it. If you are one of those people, don't worry. I have been one of those people. I still struggle with it. So I totally got you. There's actually a tool that I use to help you with this process of naming and seeing the change, like the tangible change, being the fly on the wall, and you creating that priority first life that you want. That's the tool I'm going to walk you through here at the end of the episode. It's something that I do with all of my clients. It's a tool we'll be using in the Ambitious and Balanced group coaching program. It's like, it feels literally like magic. I know I said that before, and I've never really talked about it here on the podcast. So I'm really excited to bring that to you too. All right. So let's jump into these stories that I want to tell you. Now, I picked these particular clients and their stories because, to be honest, they're average. Now, of course, I don't mean these women are average. Absolutely not. These women are absolutely amazing, remarkable. They're making huge impacts in their life, in the world, in their job. What I mean is that their story is just like your story. It's just like my story. Their struggles before they started working with me, like you're going to resonate with their struggles, right? Their struggles that I've struggled with myself, right? The transformation that they received through coaching, the changes that they were able to make, the work-life balance, the priority first life that they created. It's not extraordinary, it's normal, right? I want to share with you working moms that are struggling with normal overworking behaviors, normal challenges, struggling to prioritize themselves and stay unplugged, and kind of having to go through the roller coaster of change that is required in order to actually get into the life that you want to create. I want to share with you a normal coaching experience, a normal mom, normal struggles, normal transformation. Because I hear a lot of coaches, you see this on social media a lot, or if you follow other coaches or you listen to other teachers of some kind, I hear people talk a lot about the extraordinary clients, the extraordinary results, right? The people that have achieved work-life balance and lost 20 pounds in like 6 weeks, right? Those stories just feel too good to be true. And while we wish for that, while we long for that, it's not the normal, average, everyday experience of us working moms, right? Of course, I've had some of those clients that have dove into the process. The first week, the second week, the third week of coaching has seen massive transformation, like massive change, just what seems to be overnight, but it's not the average person. We're talking about habit change, right? There's so much research that goes in talking about how long it takes for somebody to actually make like sustainable change, to actually change a behavior or a habit of some kind. There's lots of studies that are out there. The number of days ranges quite a lot, but if you really look at it, the average is around 60 to 70 days to actually make change, right? That's 2 to 3 months, which is why I've given this this program, a container of 3 months, is because I know that it takes time. It takes going on a roller coaster of like incremental change, incremental steps forward, some steps back. That's the way the process works. So these women are absolutely remarkable, amazing women. And they took a normal amount of average time, an average time to actually make the behavior changes and the priority first life that they wanted. And that's why I wanted to share these particular stories with you. So I want to start with Mary. And just so you know, I didn't use their real names. Mary and I when we started working together, she had 2 toddlers, very busy. And she worked for a company. I think she had been in that role maybe about a year and a half. She was at a director level role. Here's what she told me when we started working together. I'm literally quoting her here. Okay. She said, in coaching, ideally, I would no longer feel burnt out and like I'm not living up to my full potential and feeling intellectually stifled. I hope to stop feeling constant conflict in my life about what I should be prioritizing. For example, feeling like I'm doing something wrong for missing work while I take care of one of my sick kids. Ugh, so many of you, I know for me as well, I struggle with these same feelings, right? When you decide to prioritize your sick kid at home and stay home with them and give them the care that they need, you feel like you're doing something wrong, like you're wronging work in some way, right? Or if you are going to a workout class on a Saturday morning and you are sacrificing time with your family in order to do that because it's really important to you, and your kid is standing at the window. This has literally happened to me and other clients. They're standing at the window. They're like hands on the window looking at you, and they are crying while you are leaving, and they're telling you not to go, and you feel terrible and you feel like you're doing all the things wrong and like you're a terrible mom because of it. Right? These are conflicting priorities. Or when you've promised your kid, you take them to gymnastics today, but the whole day felt like it got stolen from you, last minute meeting requests, you're now have to choose, right? Am I going to follow through and take my kid to gymnastics, like I said, and watch them do the things that they're learning there? Or am I going to try to actually get some work done today, right? No matter what you choose, it constantly feels like you're failing. I know so many of you that feel that way. This is where my client Mary was feeling. Her brain was constantly telling her that she was doing things wrong, and whatever she was choosing was wrong. And she was feeling anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, like all of the time, right? That's how she came to me in coaching. But after going through my process, learning how to create a priority first life and process all of the feelings and thoughts that come with creating her life, here's what she said. She said, and I'm quoting, in coaching, I built an armory of mental tools that I can carry with me going forward. I learned to maintain my composure in tough, unpredictable circumstances and keep a level-headed mindset, even in the midst of chaos and unpredictability. My emotions are much more regulated and well understood now, and I've become diligent about listening to the signals in my body when I am feeling overwhelmed or carrying a large amount of anxiety with me or just feeling completely exhausted and worn out. I am much more mentally present when I am with my family, and I am much calmer and more composed, even in the tough moments. Now, remember, what we're talking about here in this podcast is we're trying to paint a vision of what a priority first life is like, or what it can be like for you, so your brain can see it and it will be easier for you to create it. We're going to talk more about that at the end of the episode when I give you the tool on why that's the case, right? But it's important for your brain to see it. So notice how my client Mary is talking about listening to her body when she's feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or just completely exhausted. How often do you listen to what your body needs and then actually respond to it, right? How often do you rest when your body says rest? How often do you put down when your body says it's time to shut down and unplug? How often do you say yes to fun and adventure with Legos instead of trying to answer more messages on your phone? Mary learned how to listen to her body and respond in the moment to what it needed. And a lot of that second guessing and am I doing it right and what should I be doing and feeling like a failure, it went away. A fly on the wall would see that, right? They would see you choosing rest and laughter and giggles. They would see you put down your phone when it's time to put down your phone and be present. They would see your shoulders more relaxed. They would see you more calm. If they looked on the inside, they would see a calmer mind and a calmer heart that's not like racing a mile a minute as soon as you like lay your head on the pillow. That is a priority first life. That's the life you are looking to create. And then there is Alexia. Now, Alexia was starting a new job when we first started working together, and she was really afraid that she would take on, like she would carry in the new job, like all of her bad habits would follow her into the next one. And so all of the habits that had her working late, logging on late, feeling stressed and like there wasn't enough time, not sleeping well, not taking PTO, not going to the doctor when she needed it, feeling frustrated when her kids were sick and she had to be home with them, right? She saw this new job as an opportunity to shift her priorities and learn how to actually follow through with them. So when Alexia and I started working together, here's what Alexia said when we started working together. And again, I quote, "As a mother of three, and until very recently, and an executive team member at my job, I find very little time for myself. When I do have a few hours in the evenings, I tend to spend the time scrolling through social media or rewatching a show that I've already seen. I have anxiety, and it's blended with a little bit of perfectionism, and I can find myself actually paralyzed from making progress or starting anything new. With three kids, social activities center around them for the most part, for me, with occasional time for lunch with a friend or dinner with my sister. Finding time to be alone typically means I leave the house because the kids are either here or my husband is. He also works from home. I do enjoy some alone time to break away from always being needed by someone at home or feeling like I should always be doing something. I will fill my time with errands just to get a little bit of alone time." Okay, here's what the fly on the wall would see with Alexia. She would see a stressed out working mom doing all the things at work and at home. And when she really couldn't handle it anymore and she needed a break, she would get in the car and she'd go to Costco or she'd go to Target just so she could be alone. My friends, this is not me time. Running errands for your family, obviously necessary. It's part of being a working mom, but it is, and it can be actually energizing at time because you're checking a box off the list, but it does not count as me time. This is one of our key 4 priorities that you'll be making in Ambitious and Balanced when you join the group coaching program. You will decide when you are going to take time for yourself, and you're going to give yourself a menu of fun, life-giving options that you can do during that time that is not running errands for your family. This is something that Alexia and I had to work through together. And here's what she said after learning the tools on how to schedule in priorities for herself and actually hold to them. Here's what she said. She said, "I am making time to go to yoga 1 to 2 times per week. I also am finding time to walk 20 to 30 minutes with my husband or alone during my workday. And I feel like I'm showing up more confidently at work. They don't even know anything different. Despite not working long hours, I believe I am seen as very engaged, trustworthy, and capable in my role, which is about as successful as I can hope for based on my little time that I have spent there so far." My friends, running errands for your family is not me time. It is a necessary part of your job as a working mom. It is not to be considered like fill up your energy tank, okay? This is one of the 4 key priorities that you will make in the Ambitious and Balanced group. You will decide when you are going to take time for yourself and give yourself a menu of fun, life-giving options that you could do during that time. And you're going to learn how to hold to that time no matter what. I'm going to teach you that in this program, just like I taught Alexia. And here's what she said after learning the tools on how to schedule in her priorities and keep to them. She said, I'm making time for yoga 1 to 2 times per week. I have been finding time to walk 20 to 30 minutes with my husband or during the workday. And I feel like I'm showing up more confidently at work despite not working long hours. I believe I am seen as very engaged, trustworthy, and capable in my job. Yes, exactly. Alexia, she loved yoga. She said that from the very beginning. She wanted to learn how to incorporate that. That was one of her goals in coaching. We did that. And then you also heard her mention that she was no longer working more like long hours, more hours, because in her previous job, in order to like maintain success, at least what she thought, she was putting in like 50 or 55 hours a week. And so when we started working together, she made a commitment and she said, no, I'm not. I am going to work 40 hours. And that is it. That was one of the key priorities that she made when we worked together. And so together, what she learned how to do was commit to 40 hours and learn how to be just as successful, just as confident, just as productive, just as valuable in her work without working all of those extra hours, right? That is another one of the key priorities inside Ambitious and Balanced. You are going to decide when your work hours are, when you're going to work, when you're not going to work, and thus how many hours that's going to be. And then together, I'm going to help you learn how to stick to those hours. My friends, 100% this is possible for you as well. And then there's Kat. Now, Kat was on the verge of burnout when we started working together. So much so that she ended up taking actually a couple of month break in the middle of our coaching to kind of recalibrate and figure out like how to deal with her stress and so forth. She also had, I believe, a 6-month-old at the time. She worked with patients. And so she was constantly feeling like she was behind. She was responding to lots of emails and messages. She had way more patience than she should. She felt like she was working like all day, all night, answering emails, answering messages, trying to get back to them. She would think about the clients, the patients that she hadn't seen and what she needed to get back to. And she just had this backlog of client communication that that was constantly weighing on her. And then she would come home from work feeling exhausted, feeling like she had nothing to give to her son or her husband. And she just literally would sit and cry, feeling like she was a terrible mom because she was dropping her kid off at daycare like 7:30 and she wouldn't get home until 6 or 6:30. And he was only 6 months old. So he was going to bed, pretty early. So as a fly on the wall in her house, they would see this like frantic woman trying to get back to all of her clients, trying to clean the house, trying to sit and do tummy time with her infant, trying to be a good friend and getting back to her friends like in a timely manner, right? After coaching together, here's what Kat had to say. I now have such better focus. I can sit in the moment with my son, play, and enjoy him. That's in really big letters. Enjoy him. Something I desperately wanted to do is I want my son to know that I enjoy playing with him, and being present in all parts of my life has made this possible. Being present still takes reminders and always will, but it's much more second nature. It has really instilled in me the importance of time for myself to sit in my thoughts and feelings so I can show up in all of my roles. A fly on the wall for Kat in this new balanced state in her life would see her sitting on the floor doing tummy time, giggling, being present. She didn't talk about this in this particular quote, but I know that Kat also started making time for her music again. So a fly on the wall would see her singing more often and see her practicing her singing more often. Instead of feeling like she needed to get back to absolutely everyone and be responsive to all of her friends and all of her family, a fly on the wall would see that she actually was choosing who was most important to her and not feeling like she needed to get back to everyone and every single person in any kind of responsive manner, but that she could actually pick and choose, right? She edited down who she was feeling responsible for. In her priority first life, she decided her priorities and learn how to follow through despite that urge that she might have had to log back on or to clean something around the house, despite that feeling that maybe she wasn't getting back to someone or somebody needed something from her. She had learned how to name those priorities and stick to them no matter what. Now, the last story I want to tell you is one of me. Okay, I could talk about countless examples of my own life and how I've been able to create a priority first life for myself. But what I really want you to hear as I share my story is that this is not a one and done process, right? Living a priority first life and experiencing work life balance takes constant intentionality. You never actually arrive at a balanced life and then no longer have to put effort into it. Being an ambitious working mom, your life is always going to be full. There will always be priorities that are competing with each other, and you will have to make decisions on where you actually want to put your time and your energy, right? It's constant. It's one of the big reasons why I created the Ambitious and Balanced process, and I wanted to teach it to you in the group coaching program. I want you to learn the process of creating a balanced life and then have the tools essentially in your tool belt to be able to create that life for you no matter the circumstances, right? Because the process never changes. The circumstances are going to change, and you just get to apply the process over and over and over again to different circumstances in your life. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, right? I wanted to give these tools to more people. I wanted more working moms in the world to stop feeling like they have to choose between their career and their life as a mom. So I'm choosing the story to tell you today. I want to share with you actually about my morning, this very morning today as I'm writing this podcast. Now, I've always been someone that hates being late. As an identity, I am somebody that is on time. I am an on-time person, if not early. Okay, but what this has meant as a mom, what I've realized is that I'm constantly pushing my kids out the door. I'm pushing them to the next thing. There's this, we gotta go, right? And I've had to really practice being more present and sort of letting go of that need to always be on time. And even though I've gotten dramatically better at this over the years, it's likely something that I'm probably always going to have to be conscious about and like really think about and be intentional with because there's such an inner like drive to be on time all of the time. So this morning, it's Monday, my daughter woke up, she was sleepy and she was emphatic that she was not going to go to school. I'm not going to go to school. You can't make me. I don't want to go. She just repeated this over and over and over again in various ways. And eventually she got herself up and she put herself back to bed and she told me, I'm not going. Now, the old me that prioritizes being on time would have been very quick to frustration, right? You don't have a choice. Get up. You've got to go to school. I would have probably attempted to even like take her covers off, get her undressed, dress her, right, which would have created more resistance, within her. And old me would have snapped, would have yelled, would have pushed, would have threatened all sorts of consequences, like to get her to go to school and be on time. It would have been absolutely terrible for her and me. And then even after I would have gotten her to school, I probably would have gotten back in the car and just felt like a terrible mom. Like I would have felt totally lost, no clue how to handle the situation. I would have felt like I definitely did it wrong. And I would have been kind of sitting in this place of guilt and judgment. New me, instead, because I'm living a priority first life and I have all of the tools and the processes that I teach, that I follow. Instead, I took a couple of deep breaths. I excused myself to my bedroom. I closed my door. I finished my cup of tea to the very last drop while I sat there. And I thought very calmly, I breathed very calmly, and I told myself getting to school on time wasn't the most important thing. I got up, I got myself dressed. I kind of went through my own morning routine. All the while, I kind of assumed my daughter was half asleep, half sulking in her bed. I texted a friend. I had her pick up my son along the way to school. And once he left, I went into her room. I rubbed her back. I listened to her tell me that she wasn't going to go to school. I listened to her tell me how hard things were. And I told her, I know it was hard to be really, really tired and to go to school when you don't want to. Like, I totally understand that. So I was sympathetic. I was trying to connect with her. Eventually, in a very calm way, I let her know that there would be a consequence if she didn't get up and get herself dressed. I left the room. I went into the kitchen to make her breakfast. And eventually, she did get herself up. I helped her put on her socks and shoes, even though she's obviously very capable of doing that. because she just needed a little extra help from me today. And eventually we got in the car. She got to school about 20 minutes late. Now, as I think back to this moment, I handled this in a lot of the ways that I would really like to handle this moment, right? But it still took a lot of emotional energy from me. So I got home. And a fly on the wall would see this, right? I got home, I turned on some music really loud. I was singing, I got my journal out, I was writing some thoughts down, and I was kind of giving my whole body this space to kind of let go of all of the emotion that I was holding from that moment with my kid. Not just because we were running behind and I hate being behind, but because my poor girl was like feeling a lot of emotions. And so I was carrying a lot of emotions with myself as well, right? But I wasn't telling myself I was doing it wrong and I was failing, sort of like my old self would. I was instead saying, I did a lot of things right. Now, of course, I could do some things different. I'm not sure what those things are, but I'm doing so many of the things that I want to do right. Right now, I'm giving you a window into my daily life, right? A fly on the wall would have observed all of those things that I just told you. And my ability to focus on my priority of being a mom instead of being an on time mom, my ability to do that comes from having created a priority first life and having learned how to handle all of the emotions that come with that. And I am teaching you the same thing, the very same thing to you in the Ambitious and Balanced program. My goal in sharing these stories is to give you a glimpse into what life looks like, to help your brain not only see, but feel motivated to create this priority first life. It's your turn now to see what is possible when you create work-life balance and a priority first life. I want to show it to you. I want you to be a fly on the wall and observe what life would be like if you were experiencing this, if you are going through this program and learning the tools that I'm sharing with you here. And one of the most effective ways that I know how to do that, that is literally transformative, is visualizing. Now, visualization is one of those tools that I use with my clients because it gives your conscious mind a glimpse into what it is you want. Now, I'm not an expert at visualization or meditation. I've never studied it. And so the way I use it is very simple. And it's for sort of an average person that has a very little attention span, like me, for this kind of thing. I don't spend copious amounts of time meditating. And I've never really done that. To be honest, that sounds awful to me as an ambitious person. I walk my clients and myself through very short, usually 2-minute or less visualizations that helps guide some questions for their conscious mind so that they start to see the future that they want to create ahead of time. Now, if you don't know anything about visualization or its effectiveness, it has been studied and studied and studied, right? Now, the first time I was introduced to the idea of visualization and like the impact that it could have, I was reading a story, or maybe I heard a story about basketball players. So in this particular research study, the players were split into 3 different groups. One group was to practice free throws for something like 30 minutes. I actually don't remember how long they were supposed to practice each day, but let's just say 30 minutes. They were supposed to practice free throw shots, excuse me. The second group was to spend the same amount of time just visualizing themselves doing free throw shots, but not actually doing them. And then the third group wasn't to do either one of those, wasn't to practice basketball at all. So what blows my mind is that obviously the group that didn't practice at all did the worst out of the 3 groups. But then there was virtually no difference between the group that had actually practiced free throw shooting and those that had visualized them. Almost no difference. Both groups equally, when tested, were able to throw the same amount of free throws. That's wild to me. And every research study that you look at, if you were to start looking into this sort of thing, would show you exactly the same thing. And the reason for this is because your brain is the most powerful muscle in your body. And when you see something in your mind, when you visualize something in your mind, when you imagine something in your mind, that's what we're saying the same thing with all of those words, right? See, imagine, visualize. It is almost as good as doing it physically, right? It actually, your brain makes the same synaptic connections to something when you do it and when you visualize it, right? So when we visualize here in Ambitious and Balanced, what we're visualizing is your your balanced life. And we want to make a connection to your balanced life before you've even created it. Remember, your brain doesn't like to do anything new. It doesn't like to make change. It doesn't want to change your overworking behavior. It doesn't want to end people pleasing or perfectionism or learn how to be present. Changing habits and doing things that are new, your brain doesn't like any of that. So when you visualize yourself doing it ahead of time, when you visualize yourself doing tummy time, like my client did, what without your phone and feeling totally present and like giggling with your kid. When you visualize yourself shutting down your computer and walking away from your to-do list with ease and not logging back on, or when you see yourself getting up in the morning, going to your yoga class, even if your kids are crying or whatever they're doing, when you visualize yourself doing the thing that you want to do, not actually doing it, but just visualizing it, your brain gets familiar with it, and then it gets easier to actually do it. It gets easier to make the change and to find motivation for the change because your brain now has an image of what that looks like when you do it, right? It almost feels like magic, right? So I'm going to actually walk you through right now a very quick little visualization. These are the kinds of things I do with my clients to help you make exponential progress. My clients that have never done meditation or visualization before, these are the kinds of things that I walk them through. It doesn't take much. You don't have to be great at this. You just have to be able to tap into a little imagination, a little creativity. Okay? Are you ready? Like this, what we're doing here is we're creating in your mind your priority first life. I want you to see it like a fly on the wall observing it. This is the life you're creating when you join ambitious and balanced and learn the skills of creating a priority first life. Okay, here we go. I want you to take a couple of really good deep breaths. Close your eyes if you can. In through your nose, out through your mouth. I want you to imagine yourself waking up tomorrow in your priority first life. All of the overworking habits and behaviors that you want to change, that you desire to be more present and more calm and more connected with your kids, you have already learned how to do that. There's time in your schedule for yourself, for your workouts, even for your friends. You've learned how to keep work at work and be unplugged at night. This is your version of a priority first life. And you wake up tomorrow and you are watching yourself in it. I want you to observe how you look when you wake up in your priority first life, how rested you look, how you carry yourself through your morning in your priority first life. How do you interact with your partner or your kids? Notice the energy of the morning and how different it feels in your priority first life. See yourself maybe sitting down, talking to your kids at breakfast. Everything feels so much more intentional. See yourself get out the door, not feeling so rushed, not feeling so stressed, not feeling like you got to get there, but you feel calm, collected, intentional. Notice that when you get into work, you feel very clear on what you need to do. You know what your priorities are. You've decided them ahead of time. Notice how you carry your shoulders at work in this priority first life. If somebody were to look inside of you, notice how they can observe your head and your heart not racing so much. You probably speak up more, share your ideas more. Notice how differently you simply carry yourself when you're living a priority first life at work. As the end of the workday approaches, see how you close out. You're not so frantic, just trying to get one last thing done. You have a routine to end your workday, to get clear on what you need to do the next day, to prioritize. Give yourself enough time to get out the door, to feel like you're letting everything go as you come in to your home life for the end of the day. Notice that energy that you come home with in a priority first life. Notice how different that is because you're not carrying around all that baggage from your workday. You've really let it go. And notice how you handle all the various priorities that you have at the end of your day. Cooking, maybe helping your kids with homework, or doing some intentional playtime with your kids. Notice the sort of things you choose to do and the sort of things you decide not to do in a priority first life. And eventually, as the day comes to the close, how do you get yourself to sleep? Notice that your mind isn't racing. Your body isn't pulsing with all of the emotional baggage from the day. It's simply time to rest. Taking a couple more deep breaths, really looking, solidifying that image of you in your mind, in your unique priority first life. Working moms, I can help you create that life. This is exactly what I do and have been doing for the past 7 years. I've coached over 200 women and have taught thousands more the process that I have streamlined and created for ambitious and balanced. And there are still a few spots if you want to join the fall cohort. There's a couple of bonuses that are included, including ongoing coaching throughout 2025 if you join this first cohort. I don't know if I'm going to offer that to everyone, but I'm offering it to you. So now is the time. Now is always the time to be going after the life that you want. Please let me walk you through the process. It all starts with scheduling a free consultation call with me to make sure that you are a perfect fit for the group of 10. And you can do that by going to my website, www.rebeccaolsoncoaching.com/ambitious and balanced. Working moms, your priority first life is waiting for you. You can see it in your mind and you can create it when you join this group. All right, until next week, let's get to it. Hey, working moms, thank you for being a part of this community. If you're listening to this podcast, it's because you are a career-driven, goal-focused, ambitious working mom that is looking for more support and practical tools to balance life. Where you're in the right place, and it has been an honor to support you through this free podcast. But I want more women just like you to get the support they need through this resource, and the best way you can help me do that is by rating and reviewing this podcast. When you rate and review, it makes its way into the algorithm and then it recommends the podcast to more amazing, ambitious women just like yourself. I thank you in advance. And until next week, let's get to it.